This is my 1978 Firebird Trans Am, and it is a the front end suspension that I'm showing you here. Um, Basically, all I've done at this point is I've put the car on blocks and I've attached the A-frames and the upper and lower control arms, and I'm getting ready to use the spring compressor and the internal spring compressor. And so at this point, I'm just compressing the spring, and it's close, but it's definitely not seated properly. So I've grabbed my crowbar to kind of encourage it into its slot, and the two little circles in the bottom. It's where you're supposed to use for keying and cover the first one. So it's close, but it's just not quite there. So I'm just kind of trying to wedge it into place. I eventually think that maybe if I tap it with a mallet, it might kind of push it just because it's just not quite seated properly. So I keep fiddling with it, and I'm getting closer. Um, and so I just a few more turns to get it compressed, and I'm realizing that it's just not going with me manually moving it like that. So I'm going to go ahead and a few more compressions to tighten it up, and I'm going to go and find my mallet. See if I can just kind of encourage it to go into its spot. And I'm realizing that that's really not moving much, and it's a little too dangerous to keep doing that. So I'm just going to press it one more time, and that looks like it did it. So at this point, I lower it back down, and I am just seating it just enough to get the threading started on the upper arm, and that seems to have worked. Now it's all secure. The lower one is secure and the upper one's secure, and I'm good to go to lower it down and move on over to the second side. So just a few seconds. I'll go ahead and lower her down. That looks good. And we'll wrap this side up, and I will move over to the passenger side here. All right, everything looks good. All right, so I learned a lot on that first side. The second side, I went ahead and started to get the spring already closer to its final location. And there you see me dropping in the threaded spindle for the spring compressor. And I kind of get it started, and eventually, so I'm going through that top hole at the top of the suspension. It's just big enough to allow the spring compressor to fit in. So once I get it threaded down as deep as it'll go, then I'll fish up the little hooks on the inside, the internal spring compressor, and get it started. I want to make sure there's plenty of threads all the way through the unit, and to allow it to safely lift and compress the springs. So once I get it started and my spring is already in its proper orientation, the advantage of doing it like this is that I've already set it up for success, that I don't have to make many manipulations. So right there, I'm just twisting the spring one more time to make sure it's aligned as close to the keying holes as possible. And now I'll go ahead and start compressing the spring. And once again, just double checking to make sure everything looks good. There we go. Some final adjustments. And this does get very tough to do. I probably could have reached down and grabbed a lower part of the spring, because I noticed when I got to darn near the top, it was starting to catch that upper lip. on that upper A-frame. And now that I know that, I might have tried to readjust the actual rod, the threaded rod, to make it go more in the center, but or grab a little bit lower spring. So here, once again, I'm just grabbing the bar to get it into place. I'm slowly lifting, so I'm compressing and then lifting at the same, just, interchanging back and forth. And I don't need a lot of pry bar on this side because, once again, it was already really close to its home position. So this is where it started to get really tough. Once again, I think it's because it started to drag on that upper arm. And then I also didn't realize that the upper arm was still raised a little bit. I could push it down, and that way the threading would be a little bit closer. So I thought I had like 5 to 6 inches to go. In reality, I just had a couple, maybe 2 to 3 inches to go. So yeah, you'll see me there. I was evaluating to see why it was getting harder and harder, and I noticed that it was kind of starting to drag on that upper arm. So here I'm just trying to see if there's anything I can do with it to get it to go home. And there's where I finally realized that I could just push down the arm and it would be a lot closer than I anticipated. So here I had to unfortunately answer a quick message. There we go. So a few more turns, get it to where the threading of the that castle nut worked, and it looks good. I'm successfully home. The lower one's already been tightened down. The upper one's now getting snugged down, which makes it relatively safe. And I am basically wrapping it up at this point. Just getting it nice